Taiwan and China reach a settlement on 2 Chinese fishers killed in a chase with Taiwan's Coast Guard, but hopes are not high for a cooling of cross-strait tensions. Hamas's top political chief is assassinated in Iran, just a day after an Israeli strike on the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Massive landslides in India kill over 100 people as rescue workers scramble to find survivors. Plus, TaiwanPlus looks back on the life and legacy of C.K. Yang, Taiwan's first Olympic medalist. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. A breakthrough could be coming in the case of Taiwanese fishers held in China. But as John Van Trieste reports, it's unlikely this could lead to a new chapter in cross-strait ties.
It's a rare moment of cross-strait cooperation. Taiwan and China have reached a settlement over Chinese citizens killed in a chase with Taiwan's Coast Guard. And now there are hopes Taiwanese fishers being held in China could soon come home. In March, China picked up 2 Taiwanese anglers after their engine failed. One of them was a military officer, and once China discovered this, it refused to let him go. Now, though, talk of a potential breakthrough in negotiations has reached the man's mother. That's exciting for those waiting for the release of other people in China's custody. It's almost a month since China seized another Taiwanese boat and held its crew, including non-Taiwanese nationals, for illegal fishing. But even if these talks are successful, China has made it clear they don't signal a change in its attitude towards Taiwan. Beijing says these talks are unofficial, people-to-people affairs. The only way forward, it says, is a return to an arrangement Taiwan's current government rejects, the 1992 consensus, under which both sides acknowledge they belong to a single China. And for its part, Taiwan's government says China must approach Taiwan through official channels.
所有重点都在政府主导，官方才具有公权力，才能够维护国家安全及民众的福祉，才有能力务实解决民众的问题，这是政府存在的目的及价值。
Meaning these talks could be a one-off, a blip of apparent goodwill in an otherwise fraught relationship. Luffy Li and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
For more on the potential return of the Taiwanese fishers held in China and what it means for cross-strait ties, John Van Trieste spoke with political science professor Ian Chong of the National University of Singapore.
China says that the negotiations about the release of these Taiwanese fishers are informal people-to-people affairs. To what extent do you think that's true? Have any Taiwanese officials been involved?
And that's why you have entities like the Straits Exchange Foundation and the Association for Relations Across the Taiwan Strait on the PRC side. They allow the fiction of ostensible sort of non-official representation, but of course the sort of official side is not far behind. They have been, I suppose, entrusted by officials to make certain represent positions to each other. So in a technical sense, it's people to people. But I think in any realistic sense, there is the sort of state backing behind the exchanges on both sides.
Now, a lot of the tension in these fishing cases has been around the island of Jinmen, which is controlled by Taiwan, but really within sight of the Chinese coast. Do you see any signs of a détente or an easing of lowering of temperature around this island?
Under Xi Jinping, there's a willingness to contest Taiwanese administration over Jinmen. I mean, that suggests on the one hand that, you know, the PRC side perhaps is more okay with maybe undermining the link between these offshore islands and Taiwan. Maybe that's a way for them to show that, you know, Taiwan has no effective jurisdiction.
If these negotiations don't bring about a lowering of tensions between Taiwan and China, could there at least be a sort of agreements when fisheries are concerned?
I don't think the PRC side wants to come to any formal agreement. They want to be able to say that our law is the law of the land, or in this case, the law of the sea, even supersedes the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, right? So there's very little reason why Taiwan or any other actor would want to accept that kind of a position, because the Law of the Sea extends some protections to weaker actors. If there is acceptance of the PRC of PRC jurisdiction, it means that they have to act on the largesse, right, of Beijing. I don't think they want that.
That was Ian Chong of the National University of Singapore speaking with John Van Trieste. The Defense Ministry says it spotted 25 Chinese military aircraft and 10 naval ships operating around Taiwan in the last 24 hours. 20 of those aircraft crossed the median line of the Taiwan Strait or entered the country's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. This zone is not Taiwan's sovereign space, but it is used by the military for defensive purposes. Taiwan deployed its own aircraft, vessels, and coastal missile systems in response. The incursions occurred a day after Taiwan joined the Interparliamentary Alliance on China, which held a summit in Taipei on Tuesday. Taiwan's Defense Ministry also noted there will be a rocket launch from southwestern China on Thursday that will pass through Taiwan's ADIZ. Hamas says its top political chief has been killed in Iran. Ismail Haniyeh had been in the capital, Tehran, to attend the inauguration of Iran's new president, Masoud Pezeshkian. Hamas officials called the assassination a grave escalation in its war with Israel. No party has claimed responsibility for the killing. The assassination of Haniyeh comes just hours after Israel carried out an airstrike on the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Israel says it was a targeted move against a commander of the militant group Hezbollah. As Rosie Mgunenja reports, escalating tensions between Israel and Hezbollah have increased fears of war in the Middle East.
Smoke rises above Lebanese capital Beirut after a triple Israeli drone strike. On the ground, emergency services work to rescue the injured in a densely packed suburban neighbourhood. At least 3 civilians, including 2 children, were killed and 74 others were injured. Israel says their target was a Hezbollah commander named Fuad Shakar, whom they hold responsible for an attack just days ago on the Israeli-controlled Golan Heights. Israeli forces believed he was killed in the Beirut drone strike, but Hezbollah sources say he survived.
He was a senior terrorist who has the blood of the Israelis and many others on his hands.
Hezbollah has denied any responsibility for the recent strike on Golan Heights that killed 12 children playing on a football field. The Iran-backed militant group has exchanged daily fire with Israel since the outbreak in October of its war with Hamas in Gaza. But this strike in the Lebanese capital marks the most significant Israeli escalation, prompting calls for calm from both the UN and US.
We do not believe that all-out war is inevitable, and we still believe that it can be avoided. And we're continuing to work towards a diplomatic resolution that would allow Israeli and Lebanese civilians to return to their homes and live in peace and security. We certainly want to avoid any kind of escalation.
This push for diplomacy, as fears of a wider regional war in the Middle East increase. Israel said its response to the Golan Heights attack would be severe, and there are concerns they will strike again. While Iran had also warned of serious consequences if Israel attacked Lebanon. Tensions in the region have been stoked by the ongoing war in Gaza, where more than 100 Israeli hostages are still being held by Hamas. Experts on the Middle East believe cementing a ceasefire deal there is the only way forward.
Look, I think the focus right now is to get this deal on Gaza done as quickly as possible, because that's going to be the only guarantee that this crisis does not escalate, or there will be no other future crisis like this one that can devolve into a major regional war.
For those in Beirut, now drawn into this conflict, The next steps by Hezbollah and Israel could determine if their home continues to become a battleground. Dolphine Chen and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Myanmar's generals are expected to extend the state of emergency that's been in place since they took power in a coup in February 2021. Reporter Rick Lau spoke to Ang Jong-mong. He's a minister in the country's national unity government, which is trying to restore civilian rule to the country.
So we're expecting that the junta will be extending the state of emergency in Myanmar. Why might the generals do that?
First of all, from day one, where the attempted coup and continued declarations of a state of emergency has been illegal, is not legitimate, and people has been speaking about, and the very constitution that they have written, the military, it's against those institutions that the government has abolished. And of course, that's the only way. The exit, they're trying to find every opportunities to maintain the power that they attempted to grab in 2021.
What does control of the country look like at the top, and what does it look like in reality on the ground in Myanmar?
I think the perceptions and reality have a big gap there. The international community perceive that the military still holds significant territory of the country and able to govern the country. In reality, they are not able to govern the country, and the territory that they control is very small compared to what the revolutionary force has revolutionary government and ethnic resistance organizations has been controlling. So this speak the collapse of junta in near future, and they are has not been in good shape to be maintaining the power. Even they extend the state of emergency or not, that doesn't matter. They are very much in survival mode, and we don't know when they're going to be dying.
We're still seeing a lot of conflict, a lot of people displaced. But what sort of system of governance is there on the ground in areas that have been liberated by revolutionary forces?
The cost that we are bearing is from life to livelihood. It's to end the dictatorship for once and for all. Even though the cost is very high, the upcoming generations doesn't need to bear those costs if we are bearing those costs at once. I think the governance that we are putting in place and the rule of law, like rehabilitations, reconstructions of the cities come with this public service delivery as well, and ensuring the safety and security of the civilian, despite there could be risks of airstrike by the junta indiscriminately. We are doing our best to deliver public service to the people of Myanmar in the territory that we control.
That was Myanmar National Unity Government Minister Ang Jong-mong. Taiwanese swimmer Wang Guanhong has failed to secure a spot in the Olympic finals. Wang placed 11th overall in the semi-finals of the men's 200-meter butterfly with a time of 1 minute 55 seconds. He is still the best-ranked Asian swimmer in his category at this year's Games, despite not making the cut. In boxing, Wang Xiaowen was defeated 1-4 by Stanimira Petrova of Bulgaria in the women's bantamweight category. Meanwhile, former Tokyo gold medalist badminton duo Li Yang and Wang Qiling claimed their third victory in the group phase. The pair are set to face China on Wednesday in their last group match. CK Yang was Taiwan's first athlete to win a medal at the Olympics. In 1960, he took silver in the decathlon against all odds. At a time when political tensions between China and Taiwan were at their highest, Taiwanese athletes were often blocked from competing in international tournaments. Over the years, with the help of trailblazers like Yang, athletes in Taiwan have been able to secure a spot in the Olympics. Wesley Lewis has this story.
A glimpse into Taiwan's sporting history. Legendary Yang Chuan-guang, or CK Yang, here outside the country's former National Sports Training Center. Yang was known as the Iron Man of Asia, and at the 1960 Rome Games became the first ever athlete from Taiwan to win an Olympic medal. but he almost never made it to the starting line. Taiwan's president at the time, Chiang Kai-shek, threatened to pull out of the 1960 Games after the People's Republic of China successfully got the International Olympics Committee to block Taiwan from competing under its official name, the Republic of China. But with the potential of Yang winning a much-coveted medal for the country, Chiang backed down.
China protested that we shouldn't use Republic of China name. So that's why that man wrote under protest sign. And the whole world, of course, saw the sign.
Taiwan was forced to compete under the name Formosa, the old Portuguese name for the island, although it was allowed to use the Republic of China flag. At the Rome Games, Yang claimed victory with silver in the decathlon, only behind his American rival and friend Rayford Johnson. When he returned to Taiwan, he received a warm welcome from the country's leaders and adoring fans.
全台湾没有人对这个所谓一般老百姓的号召力了，他是一个非常巨大的 idol， 就是我看当时大概只有蒋总统蒋介石比他名气大之外，他真的是大街小巷看到杨传广，真的每一个人都尊敬他是一个大英雄。
But even after winning, opportunities for Yang to compete on the global stage weren't guaranteed. In 1962, China blocked Taiwanese athletes from participating in the Asian Games held in Jakarta.
那一届集训完毕后，我们要去参加，结果呢，所有准备好了，我们就准备上飞机要过去了，就上不了飞机。
Yang was able to compete in the 1964 Tokyo Olympics, but shortly after arriving, he came down with a fever and aching bones. It was far from a simple case of the flu.
根据我所知道的故事啊，就是马青山海上在他的饮料里面放了一些东西下去。
饮料设计的选手马金山跑到大陆去了，自己没有比赛就跑了。
After being drugged, Yang would end up 5th in his event, losing out on another shot at Olympic glory.
I was crying too, and it was broken-hearted. My wife was waiting outside when I come out, and we both cried together.
Yang returned to Taiwan for rehabilitation, and he later became a coach for Taiwan's Olympic track and field team. But even then, politics was never far away, with Taiwan missing out in the 1976 Games in Montreal, once more under pressure from Beijing. He would later try his hand in politics with the goal of raising funds for Olympic training in Taiwan. But his career as a politician didn't last long.
杨宗纬先生不适合做政治，改变了他的那个政治路线的时候，名声就低了。
While in his lifetime, C.K. Yang found it hard to escape the impact of politics on sport. It's his athletic achievements and role in opening up space for Taiwan's athletes on the world stage that are remembered today. After many decades using basic facilities, Taiwan's Olympic hopefuls can now train at this state-of-the-art sports center in the country's south. And Taiwan's athletes haven't missed a game since 1984, after a deal was struck to allow them to compete under the name Chinese Taipei, allowing the legacy of a trailblazer like C.K. Yang to be carried forward by a new generation of sporting stars. Kama Shu and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up after the break, how does one of Taiwan's most eclectic musical groups wind up on a Paris stage? We speak to Quintet A Route about their journey to this year's Cultural Olympiad.
其实对我们来说都是还蛮魔幻的，因为是一个世界级的舞台。
This month's top hits on TaiwanPlus.
Let's go. Let's go to Chinese Taipei. Where is it?
Why is Taiwan called Chinese Taipei in international sports? Dive into the complex origins with athletes and experts.
People feel like we are Taiwanese.
It's the music that tells you to be yourself.
Taiwan's indie music scene is calling to you. Time to take Taiwan's musicians to the world.
Delicious plant-based dining in Taiwan.
An elevating vegetarian experience. Join Aggie Xie on Veggie Island to savor Taiwan's diverse dishes.
Hi, I'm Kevin. Welcome to Whirlwind Trip.
Hop on Whirlwind Trip to discover all the fun Taiwan has to offer around the clock.
An exhilarating journey full of culture, discovery, and unforgettable moments.
Vibrant and original programs, exclusively on TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. More than 150 people are confirmed dead after heavy rains caused landslides in the southern Indian state of Kerala. Even as rescue teams struggle to access the area due to damaged roads and families of the missing wait for news, further rainfall is predicted. Chris Goran has the story.
Rescuers in the southern Indian state of Kerala are working against the clock after heavy rains caused landslides and floods. More than 150 people are confirmed dead, while the number of missing grows. Many feared to be buried under the mud and falling rocks.
Actually, casualty എണ്ണം വളരെ കൂടുതലാണ്. ഒരുപാട് രക്ഷാപ്രവർത്തകർ രാവിലെ തൊട്ട് തുടങ്ങിയിട്ട് ഇതുവരെ എവിടെയും എത്തിയിട്ടില്ല. ഇനി ഒരുപാട് ഓടികൾ കിട്ടാനുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ ഒരു സൈഡിൽ തെരച്ചിൽ ആരും എത്തിയില്ല എന്നാണ് ഇപ്പോൾ കേട്ടത്. അപ്പോൾ എല്ലാവരും ആ ഭാഗത്തേക്കാണ് പോകുന്നത്.
The surging water and piles of mud have made rescue operations especially difficult. A key bridge into the disaster area collapsed, and a number of other roads are inaccessible. Many of the victims were asleep when the landslides happened.
1:40 में पूरा आवाज़ आया। बाद में हम लोग रूम में था, उतर गए। तो मेरा रूम से तकरीबन 30 मीटर दूर पूरा गिर गया। पहाड़ तोड़ के वो पूरा गिर गया।
In hospitals, families of the missing wait for news, wanting to hope for the best, but fearing the worst.
നമുക്കിവിടെ 3 ബോഡിയുടെ പാർട്സ് കിട്ടിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഒരു ലേഡിയുടെ ബോഡി നമുക്ക് കഴുത്തിൻ്റെ മുകളിലേക്ക് തലയുമില്ലാത്ത കാലിൻ്റെ താഴേക്കില്ലാത്ത ബോഡി കിട്ടിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. പിന്നെ ഓരോരോ പീസസ് കിട്ടിയിട്ടുണ്ട്.
യാതൊരു പ്രതീക്ഷയില്ല. സാധ്യത വളരെ കുറവാണ്. കാരണം ഭാര്യൻ്റെ പിതാവ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരു 70-75 വയസ്സ് കഴിഞ്ഞ് കാലുകൊണ്ട് നടക്കാൻ കഴിയാത്ത ഒരാളാണ്.
Military helicopters and around 200 soldiers have been deployed to help in the search and rescue efforts, but the full extent of the devastation still unknown.
The situation continues to remain very grave, but we have news that there are more people missing and the casualty number may go up.
And with more rain forecast for the region, authorities are urging the public to stay alert and prepare the best they can. Chris Ma and Chris Goran for TaiwanPlus.
As thousands of Venezuelans protest against his election victory, President Nicolas Maduro has ordered the military and police to start nationwide patrols.
Uno, que se cumpla la orden que he dado el día de hoy en el Consejo de Seguridad de la Nación de patrullaje militar y policial en todas las ciudades de Venezuela.
The electoral body declared the president the winner for a third term on Monday, even though all exit polls indicated he would lose in a landslide. The opposition party has refuted his victory and say they won the election with 80% of the votes. Protests have spread across the country, with at least 11 people killed so far. Rare banners speaking out against Chinese President Xi Jinping have been spotted in the central province of Hunan. The banner refers to Xi as a dictator and demands that he step down as the country's leader. It also calls for democratic elections. Video of the signs was widely shared by Chinese activists on social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter. The Hunan banners mimic a similar protest held in Beijing in 2022 during the height of China's zero-COVID policy. It's not clear who is behind the banners, but they are sure to draw the attention of Communist Party officials who are quick to stamp out any sign of dissent in the country. Taiwanese performing artists are bringing a taste of the country's culture to Paris at the Cultural Olympiad that's taking place alongside the Olympic Games. Among them are A-Root, a music group that tells the folk customs of Taiwan using various languages and musical styles. Our reporter Sandy Chi speaks with the group's leader, Jipo Yang.
Beirut is currently performing on the world stage at the Cultural Olympiad. What is it like performing there in Paris?
其实对我们来说都是还蛮魔幻的，因为是一个世界级的舞台。那在那边的台湾的场馆，就是可以看到很多台湾的文化，还有台湾人的热情，然后也感受到台湾人很团结、很可爱的地方。
So we understand that Beirut, you infuse different styles of music and different languages. Can you tell me about the reaction of the audiences? Do you think that they understand your show?
所以像我们这次秀的主题叫 Holy God 仔，那我们有告诉他是 Holy God 仔，我们会跟他们说哦是像 Thank God 的意思。我觉得大家应该是会 get 到我们想要表达的东西是什么。然后还有蛇舞，也是就是第一首下来，他们就可以1秒立刻无缝接轨跟上我们的节奏。我觉得很开心，因为观众的反应都很热情。然后从第一首到安口，就是大家的那个参与度都很高。
That was Jipo Yang, the leader of Taiwanese music group Beirut. Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out these tourists cruising around Paris in boats decorated with Lego bricks. I'm Yin Khvat. Take care. See you next time.